Always outstanding. I was covering Division 1 and the Collins Division, and the number of mistakes are few and the level of play is quite high. I've seen a lot of really interesting words. I've seen some brilliant finds and brilliant strategy, and I'm anticipating just an incredible round in this bracketology, which I think we're going to describe how it works this year, because we have a brand new format.
Yeah, for us, in the past we have had a variation on playoffs with just 2 players facing off in the finals in a best of 5. And then in more recent years we had straight up round robin play, and after 31 rounds or 28 depending on the year, we would decide a winner for the championship at that point. This year we are using a playoff format where the top 8 players from every division are playing off to try and advance on to the semifinals, of course, and then the finals ultimately. And they'll be playing in a match play style series here, where they play multiple games against each other to decide who is going on and then who is not. The losers in the quarterfinals will be playing against each other in a round-robin format afterwards, while the winners, of course, advance on in the bracket.
So basically, we started with a field of, how many were we exactly?
That's a really good question.
That's a good question. We're going to have to check that out.
We should check that.
I can tell you exactly. We had 48 in Division 1. And now, after 21 rounds of play, the top 8 are facing off against each other. So if you finish in 9th place through 48th, you have no chance of finishing in the top 8th. This is a brand new format for the National Scrabble Championships, and it's an experimental one, and we're going to see how it goes. Those who are in the top 8, 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7, and so on. They will play a best of 4. Whoever wins those 4, they become 1 through 4, and they now can no longer finish less than 4th. 5 through 8 can only finish 5 through 8. They will play off against each other, and then 1 will play 2, 3 will play 4, and so on. And we're going to have some incredibly exciting games today, because it is elimination. It's a bit like, we're both Canadian, Jesse and I, so bear with us with all the A's we're going to say today. But it's a bit like the college basketball, I think, eh? The 16, was that called? We're so Canadian.
There is certainly some of the energy that you see with, say, the March Madness in basketball.
March Madness.
We have had school Scrabble players doing very well in other divisions also. The team of Zachary Ansel and Noah Kalis were here playing this year, and both players did extremely well, playing at a higher level, even higher than they were used to this year, and still performing very well. All their competitors, when I talked to them throughout the tournament, were in awe of their sportsmanship, but also just how fearless they were at putting words down on the board, unafraid to try things out, which is something that even, I hesitate sometimes with words. I envy that.
Jesse, I've always said, and when I've volunteered at schools, I've done teaching of Scrabble, and I've always said when I've pitched my case to the principals of why Scrabble is such an important game, is that it's really a microcosm of life. It teaches you so many things, not just that it's a word game, that's at the most base level, but it's such a mathematical game, it's such an architectural game. So it teaches you mathematical principles such as statistics. It teaches you visual spatial skills that you're going to use everywhere. It teaches you how to perform across the board in a gracious manner. It teaches you how to win graciously and to lose graciously. I see these kids come in and they just do better in life because they learn social skills, a social intelligence, aside from the fact that Scrabble really requires a high intelligence, an academic intelligence. So it's really an all-around game that I think every family should encourage their kids to undertake.
So we've got some first letters out here on board 1. Jesse Day has drawn his tiles, looking fairly promising and balanced. Thomas, on the other hand, is struggling with some awkward combinations here. The W and the U are quite often tiles you don't want to see together. Jesse, meanwhile, has lined up Kendo on his rack as a possible play.
So we have Thomas going first. Is that correct? Can't tell.
I am unsure. I can't see the clock from here.
We have so much electronic paraphernalia around us, and right now they don't have both boards squared up on the web page. So here we go, Kendo. It is Jesse going first. As first seed, maybe he earned that privilege to go first.
I think it makes sense.
All right.
So a 30-point score there on the opening play.
All right, well, you never like to see W and U together, so definitely what Thomas is going to be looking to do is to undouble that, either get rid of the W or get rid of the U. Right now the score is 30-0. And kind of appropriately, Thomas has "we begun" on our rack, as we have begun the first round. Jesse's at 30. Thomas is at 0. He hasn't played yet. Nothing that I can see really with that K, Jesse. That would be really exciting.
It'd be nice if he had an A in his rack, because the rather unusual Knawe, K-N-A-W-E, would play for a decent score here.
Yeah. BGW, like the NG obviously is very synchronous, so everybody likes to keep NG in hopes of picking up an I. It's not going to be easy to get rid of that U and the W, so one or the other.
I also wouldn't be surprised if he went for some variation of web here, perhaps off of the O, just to get rid of some of the higher tiles that are not mixing so well here together. And GENU is not terrible as far as possible leaves.
He's going to stick with the Negui that he saw in his rack.
He's scoring here. I'm not so sure that this is best in terms of leave, but he's certainly getting points here, which against Jesse is always a good idea because he consistently scores.
Absolutely. Also, he wants to take out that double-double early on in the game. That E, if you hit both double word scores above and below it, you get to double your score and then redouble your score.
Probably a good idea here because Jesse for sure will be bingoing. That's the term we use here when you use all 7 of your tiles. Right, the question here is just going to be which of the various options Jesse has that he's going to put down.
So this is a kind of rack that you would study early on in your Scrabble career. When you have ERS, AT, those are highly synchronous tiles. They go together beautifully in just so many words. The P is not always the best tile, but it's certainly a lot better than something like a V, and another S, sometimes actually can hurt. But he's got, as you can see, he's got Sparist. He also has Pasters and Repasts.
Just a few choices here.
Through the O, I don't think I see anything. Except for Espartos. And what I meant is I don't see anything off the O or to the O, but he has 3 bingos as well as Spartos, Proteases, and Seaports. Again, this is a rack you learn early on in your career. Now, if Thomas had not played Negui, Jesse would have had Trapezes, Trapesses, for a double-double for 90 points. So Thomas did very well to block that E. Now,
Jesse has blocked. Wow.
Thomas very lovely found abductee through that D. If he had hooked Kendo, put the S there, Thomas would have been able to play. So Scrabble is not just about always finding the highest score word, it's also where do I put it? Is it worth sacrificing a couple of points in order to block the board? And by playing Sparist rather than hooking Kendo, you see that he blocked Thomas's abductee, so it was a really well thought out play.
Thomas lined up his tiles for Rubas as one possible play. That would have been, let's see here.
Oh, that's very nice.
39 points for that one, which is certainly a great option here.
Oh, wow.
The bingo would have been the better play, of course, if that D hadn't been blocked. But Rubas is certainly not a bad score, and he keeps a tremendous leave of ET.
And it opens the board. It's an absolutely perfect play.
Yeah, so Rubas is going down here.
And abductee was, in fact, the only bingo in that rack.
So 39 points for Thomas on that turn. Puts him up to 57, down by 50 points to Jesse Day's 107.
Now we have a bit of hair in our way, but we can see that Jesse picked the Q with the U, so that should be very nice for him. And I'm sure we're going to get the board turned around any second now. There we go.
That hair's making me think Nutty Professor. He's not quite there yet, but he did just get his PhD this past spring at Berkeley. So he's finished there, and he'll be going for a postdoctorate down in San Diego later this year.
What's his area?
He works in geophysics, actually.
Geophysics.
Yeah.
So he must have voted for
Geocache?
Geocache.
Yes, for those of you out there that aren't aware, Merriam-Webster had a contest along with Hasbro, I believe, was involved as well. But there was sort of a bracket, if you will, March Madness style, where players got to vote on a word that they liked that hadn't been added in the official update to the TWL word list. So there were several contenders such as EW, Bestie, I believe, was another one. I can't remember all of them, but ultimately geocache as a verb was the word that won and got added. Jesse's got Quag lined up as a possible play. Looks like he is opting for that. That will be 34 points.
So he undoubled his A's, he got rid of the Q, he hit it on a triple letter. Can't ask for much more than that. And here we, okay.
Thomas is continuing to draw tiles that don't really work that well together. 2 V's and an F on there. He's going to want to get rid of at least 2 of those this turn. He can't get rid of all 3.
What's nice, though, is we're getting the Q out of the way early and we're getting both V's out of the way early. These are tiles that... when you start Scrabble, you think, oh, I'm going to hold on to that Q because it can score so much, and you end up playing rack after rack for 10 points, 15, holding on to QU. What you really want to do is get rid of them pretty quickly. And certainly the V's are not exciting tiles. You want to get them off because if you're down late in the game, you don't want to be stuck with V's on your rack because they're hard to hook onto. There are no 2-letter words with V, so you can't hook them on to make a 2-letter word and to make a nice high score.
So Vive looks like a pretty good play here, which does in fact go down for 20 points. 5 there possibly would have been another option. FET, VET, that's something for perhaps the Kenjis of the world to know which one is better to keep there. EFT probably is the better 3-letter leave there. Part of what you consider as a player when you're making a move is not just how much you score on your turn, but how you prepare your leftover letters for the future. Just gonna wait for Jesse to lean back here at some point. Usually he does. Part of his routine in turns is he'll often stretch back, arms behind the head while he's thinking about a play.
You know what? I think we're going to bring in a hairdresser in between games, and we're going to trim those bangs.
I hope so.
Let's see what he's got. Well, another reason why Thomas's V was a good play is that it opened the board. He's down by almost 100 point early in the game. He doesn't have the greatest racks, and he needs to keep that board nice and volatile. There's the S in Sparus that's available, Rubas. I mean, this is a nice wide open board, just the way that Jesse does not want it right now. Oh, you know what? I can actually give you his racks because I'm following along online. There's a couple of ways to follow today, and I'll get them to you. So Jesse has AAILMTW. And for those of you not familiar with Scrabble, you'll notice that we tend to put the letters in alphabetical order. That's the way we study them. This way they create kind of an impression in our brain, and when we see the letters in that particular order, we can very often instantaneously anagram them, rather than putting them randomly on the rack. I know a few people. I was walking around, one of our directors, Kieran O'Connor, his son Matthew, who's an up-and-coming prodigy. Oh my God, not only are the tiles not in any order, they are spread across a very long rack, and some of them are sideways, some of them are upside down. But if that's the way his brain is organized, his neurons are put together, then you got to just do what you got to do.
The little bit of OCD in me would never permit that on my rack. I couldn't possibly have
Just
them out
a
of order
little.
like that. And then also for those of us who have used older tile sets, often when you have a tile left on its side rather than upright, it would indicate potentially that you have a blank, because sometimes with older tile sets it's hard to tell when a blank tile is upright or on its side. So out of habit, I make sure when I put my tiles in my rack that they're all upright, so there's no potential inference I'm giving away.
Okay, so we should be giving some, let's see what we think he can do. He has on the left the tiles that he wants to probably get rid of. He's got two A's, so he wants to undouble them. He doesn't want the W. Matt is a very nice leave.
He did have his letters lined up on the left for Pilaw, which is a variant spelling of pilaf, the rice.
I also see whale over sparist for 24 points. That blocks that S and does everything he wants to with the tiles on the left, which are the WAIL. The only potential problem with that is that it opens the line to the triple row 8, which is the red row in the middle, and could cause a big score if there's an X or a Z on Thomas Reinke's rack. Now, what did I just say? Z.
You said Z. We'll translate for those of our American viewers. Z. It's so painful to say. As predicted, Jesse has leaned back a little bit to look at the board, think about things. So we're not seeing that trademark arms behind the head yet. Oh, the tongue has come out though. Yeah.
We got a
Deep in
comment from
thought.
somebody. I'm getting some messages through my son. My son is working at the tournament, and somebody, I sleep too late, says Neguise is not a word. The plural for Neguise, Negui, and in fact, in Scrabble, Neguise is acceptable.
Well, my understanding is that in the previous update of
Okay.
TWL that it was still a singular and a plural, but I believe the S was added on recently.
Okay, perfect. Oh, he played macaw. How interesting is that?
So with Macaw, he's left ILT on his rack.
So he's chosen to block the board on the bottom, although he's created a very volatile spot with those two A's, where you can just stick like, a Z and a P and score close to 60 points. So it's an interesting choice. We'll see.
Well, Jesse has a bit of a lead here. He has drawn into some trouble. He's got 4 eyes on his rack. We may have to hand him a pair of glasses after this one.
Yeah, that's why getting rid of that eye was probably a good idea. It's early in the game with 8 to go.
So Thomas has had foot in some form on his rack lined up for a while. Maybe he is... I was looking at the spot above Sparris, but I saw ought and remembered ought isn't a word. I think we've all either
Yeah.
played or almost accidentally played OT at some point. It's just for some reason that word is just always involved in a Scrabble
Yeah, so
tournament
he's-
somewhere.
Right, so you can't play foot. An O is considered an inferior vowel to an A.
He could also play a foot off of the A in Rubas in the spot Jesse just created. It
Yeah.
scores decently
Off the
here.
W, you mean? Yep.
On top.
Oh, just on top of it, not hit the W, right. 67, 89, 21. 27 points is perfectly nice and saving ATE, which is a fantastic save in Scrabble. A little vowel heavy early in the game because there are so many more vowels. But I really like that play, a foot off of the A in Rubus.
And if that happens,
26
based on
points.
what we're seeing on Jesse's rack, I don't know if it's worth it, but for those of you out there who are studying words that are vowel heavy, there is a play here to the S with 6 of Jesse's letters that uses 3 of those I's. Interestingly, Thomas has gone with the foot that uses his A, as opposed to the A in Rubas. And Jesse is playing that word. He's playing ileitis. That is the word I had in my little mini quiz there for you. Great way to clear off that rack.
Oh, it's so important to study the 3 repetitive vowel 7, 6, whatever. 3 I's, 3 O's, 3 A's. It's so important.
Iliadis doesn't just clean up his rack here, but Jesse's especially interested in shutting down some of this board. I don't think he wants to completely shut the board down yet, but this clears the rack. It takes out the S. One of the V's is no longer going to be usable for at least an 8-letter play. Perhaps Jesse will channel his inner Nigel Richards and have a disconnected 9 through the VI there. Perhaps Thomas will. In any case, Jesse clears off his rack there, and Thomas's last play is a slightly more volatile version of a foot, just because of the O being right below that double word score.
Well, I'll tell you what's kind of sad for Thomas. So he's got this rack, Delorty. There are no 7s in that, and the only 8 is Elytroid. And the I in Vive is just too close. It needs to be one over to the right in order to fit. And he's sitting there thinking, give me an I, give me an I. And Jesse plays 3 I's.
3 I's in that play, and none of them will help him at all.
Nothing through the IV as well. The VI, playing through the VI. Sometimes we're looking for 9s through discontiguous tiles. There's nothing that he can play under the AW in a foot. There's no 6-letter word starting in the L or the E. So he can't hook that, and there are no 6-letter words that, oh, let me see. He does have that Y for the MY in Mackay, but he does not have a 6-letter word ending in Y. He's got Dry Lot and Yodeler and Retold. So I would be looking possibly over the AW in a foot, Yaw and Yod, something like that, or I'm sure we can do a little better than that. Oh, can we get Yodeler? We can. How pretty is that?
Yodeler fits
over
on top
a
of a foot. It's a great play.
Beautiful play. Let's do quick math, and we'll see if we can 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11.
That's almost beyond my counting ability.
37, 41 for 2, 46 points for Yodeler above a foot. I think, without a question, that's the play.
Looks like the best play to me.
Yeah. Anything now, he might want to get volatile and play Dotty through the T in a foot, saving LER. Also, he's got OER with a V up on top. We study a lot of compound words over and then 3-letter words or 4-letter words, so he might want to keep that, although Yodeler is, you go for the points in this case.
So it looks like Thomas is seeing that lane on top. He's looking at Toy, Ta, Of, and Yo. I'm not sure he's seen Yodeler up there, but he's certainly looking at that hotspot.
All right.
Meanwhile, Jesse has EILSTTZ on his rack. So Thomas has opted for Toy. It looks like he either didn't see Yodeler or perhaps decided against it. Toy will score 33 points.
Well, there's always that tug, Jesse, between scoring and leave.
Mm-hmm.
Although early in the game with no S, with actually 2 S's left and 2 blanks unseen, despite the volatility of sticking the R along the triple row, and it's very easy to bingo down to an R, I would want to pass more tiles personally.
Yeah. And Jesse's gone for a fairly straightforward play of Za for 42
there
points.
There you go. We talked about that before, the danger of playing Macaw. But I am going, following along online. There's another place to follow along online at the ScrabblePlayers.org website, which is also showing the game, and I get an opportunity for the computer to tell me what the best play is, and so far the guys are doing really well. Sparist, in where he put it, was the best. Kendo is the best. Rubus. Macaw was the best play. Now, we haven't had a complete analysis by the computer. That can only be done at the end of the game, but so far the computer, on a very quick iteration, found Macaw to be the best play. And then Jesse's a foot, his placement of it was the best play, and you'll notice if he had played a foot the way Jesse suggested off the N Rubus, then Thomas would not have had Za. So Scrabble's such an exquisite game. The smallest of errors can really come to bite you later on, and you lose the game by 20, 30 points, and that Za makes up for it, and
all the difference
all
there.
the difference.
So Jesse has drawn an I after his play. of Za.
So he has elitist.
It actually does fit alongside his play of Iliitis, assuming that it's not blocked.
Oh, look how pretty that is. And he'll make 4 simultaneous words, I-T, L-I-E-S, and I-T in Iliitis.
And it'll be even more eyes that Thomas could not use for a Lightroid. So just getting all those eyes down, but none of them helping Thomas out. So Thomas has made a great play here to get rid of some of the letters that aren't combining so well together in his rack. Laram here will score 20 points straight up, and Jesse likely will play elitist in that spot since it has been left open.
Let's see, this is when it gets exciting. Does he see it? Does he not see it?
I'm pretty confident. He's my namesake. I'm pretty sure my namesake will find the play here.
All right, so as I'm going through the racks up until this point, and now we'll keep you up to date in real time, Iliitis was the correct play, and Yodeler was the correct play, or even Yodel's holding on to the R. But it also takes an S and a D as it is a verb. Za was the correct play, and
Jesse has seen the spot for elitist, so this is going to give him a fairly commanding lead at this point.
$74 points for that. Now, I understand online people are asking about the clock and how that works. So Scrabble is a little different than chess. Every player gets 25 minutes for his or her game. How, I'll say he because we have 2 male players right now, how he uses that time is up to him. If he wants to take a second to slap down some tiles, that's his choice. If he wants to take 10 minutes, that's his choice. But he's got 25 minutes for his game. So knowing a lot of words is very important because you don't have to sit there and wonder, do I have a word? Do I have a word? If you have great word knowledge, you can play very quickly, and then you can save time for the end of the game. The end game is the most exquisite part of Scrabble, where you often have to figure out how to win even by 2 or 3 points and limit your opponent. So if you have time in your end game to figure out what to do, that's exceedingly important. So a lot of people now with the ability to study Scrabble words online with computers will come and say, I know a ton of words and I could be really good at this game. But you have to learn how to manage your time properly and then how to play across the board.
And here we see a lovely play to unload some of the letters on Thomas's rack there. Drongo is going to score well for him.
Fantastic play.
Yet again, he needed an I for rodeoing, but he did not get it. So he's just not getting those I's that he needs. Two I's in Jesse's bingo plays there. It just didn't work out for him. Also, just to quickly explain, when we talk about best play here on the rack, we have software generously made by several expert players that looks at the letters each turn and using several sets of mathematical principles and balancing probability, we can decide. Well, we don't decide, but we can look at what's theoretically the best play based on mathematics. So combinations of letters are assigned certain numerical values based on how well they blend together to make words or how well they don't blend together to make words. So when we say best play, we're talking about a balance of several factors. And one of those is how much you score with the play that you make on the board. And another factor is how many letters left over combine well to potentially score more for you in the future. Because what we're considering as expert players is not just what we score on this turn, but also what we score on future turns, and not even just the next turn, but several turns after. So if there's 2 letters together, such as the M and the W in the macaw play, if we don't get rid of at least one of those, then we may have problems making points long term. So the nice thing about macaw, for example, is both the M and the W were triple letter scored in terms of bonuses that were assigned to that, but also it unloaded those from his rack because together they don't work well together in terms of probability compared to, say, ATE that we've seen as a leave on a different rack. So those are just several factors. It's fairly complicated. Best play is also theoretical because there are some factors such as player history with each other that players will take into account when making a play. So there is a mathematical best play that we may talk about, but there's also a theoretical best play that we might talk about. So
Okay,
just to answer that
is
question.
Thomas is showing off a bit. he's showing all the words he's finding. You can see how he has the tiles SHI blank AREE through the V that he blocked with Laram. Unfortunately, he although it wouldn't have fit, he has Chivalry, and he's got through the T. He's got Hardy's, which will not fit either.
Just one off the board. It's really not been his game.
He's been one off, and sometimes you'll have games like that where you're just constantly one off, and it's a killer. I should point out that Jesse had a choice when he played Elitist. He also had Tillites through a foot. So in both cases, he was going to create a pretty volatile play by exposing the triple row. He chose to open up the triple, which may not have been the best choice, considering how far ahead he is. But the other play was also quite dangerous.
So Jesse's gone with Coxey here to score 39 points and take out that triple line. Just to explain a little bit more of our Scrabble terminology here, a triple is when you make a play using all 7 of your letters through a letter that exists on the board. And what happens there is you get to use both of the triple word scores, so 3 times 3 being 9. So you would take the face value of all the letters laid on the board, you would multiply them by 9, and then add 50 points for using all 7 of your letters. It's considered it's the crème de la crème of Scrabble.
The Cadillac. Back in the day when Cadillac was the crème de la crème.
So that's a play that as Scrabblers we love having the opportunity to make that. So what Jesse's what Jesse's doing here by playing Coxey is taking out the opportunity for Thomas to do that, because with this lead that Jesse has, that play for Thomas would get him back in the game. And part of, again, getting back to this best play idea, what we're doing as players is not just what we score, not just what we leave left over, but how much we offer back to our opponents that they can potentially score. And with this play here, Jesse is taking away a potential huge opportunity. So playing probability here, he is playing it somewhat safe and taking out a potentially dangerous opportunity for Thomas.
Now, some of you who might be following the game simultaneously on the Scrabble Championship website will notice that the computer, in its initial iteration, its initial computation, suggested Nudge was better than Drongo, saving an R. I think later when it does its computations, it's going to find that Drongo is a little stronger because there are still 3 R's unseen, and the bag is starting to get very consonant heavy. There are more consonants now in the bag than there are vowels, so the players are going to have to be aware of that and determine their play not just based on what the best scoring play is, but also on whether they're going to be able to play the next turn and the next turn if suddenly their racks are going to turn into 6 and 7 consonants.
Yes, and I think Drongo also is a better play because Thomas does have several E's now, but Drongo with the D and the R at the bottom, potential ER or ED plays for bingos are much more friendly here. Nuge going to an N or an O is not likely to produce 8-letter plays that often, so I would favor Drongo as well.
Yeah, and you see what Thomas is doing. He's going nowhere near that D in Drongo. He's going nowhere near that T in a foot. He wants to keep the board open on both sides so that Jesse can't block simultaneously. He desperately needs a bingo, and he needs 2, frankly, at this point, because he's down 124 points. And I had the pleasure of playing Mr. Day in a couple of heavy games where he had to block the board, and he's pretty darn good at it. So I will not be surprised if we start seeing something blocking the row along Drongo and underneath a foot to make it very hard for Thomas to bingo.
Jesse's going to have some trouble doing that this rack. He has, I believe, DDIILNU for his rack is what I managed to deduce through that hair looking on either side.
I'll give it to you in a second. When he played Coxa, the computer actually liked him playing Cokes, where Thomas played air. And it obviously would have been worth a lot more points, but Jesse was very interested in blocking up that triple row, because almost at this point the only way Thomas will catch up to him is through a triple. It would have been worth 52 points, whereas Coxey was worth only 42. So he gave up 10 points in order to block the triple, and that was a very conscious decision on his part.
So for those players up and coming here, initially it just sounds like, oh, well, a loss of 10 points. That just seems like a waste. Jesse has a lot of points already in terms of his lead. What we try and do as expert Scrabble players is score somewhere in the range of 20 to 30 points on average, somewhere in there per turn. And this depends on multiple factors.
Did you say 20 or 30?
Between 20 to 30. I don't know the exact number, but on average, we're hoping.
A little higher.
Yeah,
a little higher.
we're hoping for something.
Up to 40. We would love it. 35. Let's
in an ideal world.
35, yeah.
In an ideal world, for sure. So with Coxey, it's several, 10 points less, but it still fits the average we're looking for per turn, and it takes away a potential deviation from the average for Thomas by going well above that with 100 and something points if he were to get that triple.
So I'll give you, you can see the rack. There you go. DDIILNU. So something as simple as DID underneath a foot will pretty much end Thomas's hopes for bingoing through the T. He would now have to make a 9 through a TI, which is not impossible, but it has to fit exactly. It would be very difficult.
So with long-term vision here, Jesse may not be able to block the D or the R in Drongo. A bingo play could potentially go down there, but at this point he'd know that Thomas needs at least 2, so he can make a play here under a foot to take out the second bingo line. That's probably the most obvious second one at this point. So any play down there will accomplish what he needs to more or less secure a victory here. I don't see, beyond a miracle, Thomas pulling out this game.
If anybody heard me clapping, I was not clapping anybody's play. There seems to be like a fruit fly. I don't see any bananas around here, do you?
No, I don't either. Maybe he would like a sip of the Scrabble water that we have prominently displayed in front of us.
There we go. There it is, right on the screen. Come on. All right. Somebody was asking, I think some people are coming late, Jesse, to the broadcast, if you could explain again the bracket.
Okay, so just to explain the bracket again one more time. We have 8 players at the top of each division who are in a separate playoff format from the rest of the competitors. So all players from 9th place down to the bottom of their respective divisions are still playing in round-robin format. But for those in the top 8, there is a playoff. It's a best of 4 in this quarterfinal round. So the more wins you have, of course, the more likely you will to go on. So if you win 3 games straight, then you go through. If you lose one along the way but win 3, you go through. Otherwise, if each player wins 2 games, the tiebreaker is going to be how much each player won and lost by in all of those games. So whoever has what we call a spread that's more positive, they are the one that's they're the one that will go through to the next rounds, which will be the semifinals. Those players who lose in the quarterfinals will be paired against each other in a mini round robin separate from the rest of the tournament still, while the winners, of course, go on to the semifinals, where they will play in a best of, and the losers there will play off in a consolation final for the 3rd place prize.
All right. So Thomas's rack, as you can see, AEEGORS, there are no available bingos to him. The only ones are overages, Giraus, and aerogels. He's going to want to probably get rid of some of these vowels and not block up the board. I'm looking to see if there's a 3rd place, Jesse, that he can open up. Yeah, somewhere like, yeah, there you go. That's exactly what I was thinking. Can he open up the board around where elitist is so that he can create another spot for himself? And he's done a really, really good job doing that. Unfortunately, he had to get rid of some nice tiles.
And also, unfortunately, Jesse has drawn a blank here.
Oh my goodness. Forgotten all about them.
So I believe
here they are.
He will have, for example, unridden through the R will be one potential option.
Oh, so he just gave him a spot. Okay.
Undenied to the T in Drongo is also a good play, fairly high-scoring one here.
That's the unfortunate thing about what Thomas had to do. As a result of opening the board with 2, and especially with 2 blanks unseen, he subjected himself to the very real possibility that Jesse's been grooming his rack for the last couple of racks and is now available to bingo and put the proverbial nail in the coffin, and I think that's what we're about to see.
Thomas does have a blank, and he's got several high-scoring tiles there, but it's probably too late at this point. Jesse's turned the board towards himself. He's got that look that I've seen on his face many times before. He's really just deciding which of his multiple options he's going to go with. It looks like he's got, I'm going to assume, unwinded lined up on his rack, which is actually not acceptable, but he is thinking about it.
What is his rack? Let me see. D-E-I-N-N-U blank. Okay. So he is undenied.
And for those who are looking for updates on some of the other matches, we are actually separated into another part of the room, so we don't have immediate access to what's happening in those games, but as we find out more, we will update you on the broadcast as well.
Where did you see that? Oh.
So, interestingly enough here, Jesse is going for a play that we know, based on sitting in the booth here, is going to be invalid no matter what he designates the blank as. My assumption is he's made the blank a W.
Well, if you eat an orange, you unrind it. If you
perhaps
lose
an M.
something, you unfind it.
Yes, maybe Thomas will unmind this play and let it stay on the board. You never know. It looks like, oh, Jesse is drawing. Thomas either hasn't held or... So just to explain a dynamic here,
that was
a rule
mistake.
that we have here when we play in tournament Scrabble is if players happen to have a dispute about the validity of a word, we have an official word source here that we use to adjudicate any challenges when people disagree on the validity of a word. So the tournament word list, which is used primarily in North America, but also in Israel.
Just in one club in Israel? Just
yes.
in Jerusalem?
Yeah, and then I believe
Not Tel Aviv.
Thailand also uses this word list at times as well. But in this word list, the word that Jesse has made, which I believe is unwinded, cannot be found in that word list. So if Thomas decides for some reason that he doesn't think Jesse's play is a word, he would say challenge, and they would go to check it on a computer to see whether or not it's a valid play.
So undenied was the best play, followed by unridden, ununited through the T in a foot. But obviously, not opening the board and blocking up that D was the way to go.
So I was wrong here. He made it an M, unminded. So yes,
wow.
M was the blank play that he made there.
But it was a mistake on Thomas's part, because the only way he could possibly have a chance of winning this game is to challenge.
To challenge the word off, for sure.
I'm not sure what he was thinking.
So just to explain the other end of the challenge rules here in Scrabble, if they disagree on the word, and Thomas in this case, if he were to challenge the word, once they go to the computer, they would see that Jesse's play is invalid. Jesse would have to take the tiles off the board, he would score 0, and then Thomas would be able to play on his next turn, potentially catching up. The flip side to that is, in this division, there is a special rule for challenge, where if you make a challenge and the word is valid in the dictionary, you lose your turn and score 0. So there's a bit of a risk element here.
Well, the onus is on the challenger in North American play, whereas when it's only a 5-point challenge, it's on the player, because it's just so easy to, the other person to sacrifice 5 points is nothing. But I thought he might do something like that.
So depending on where you are in the world, there is a different consequence for a failed challenge. In North America here with this dictionary, it is a loss of turn.
The only bingo on Thomas Reinke's rack was Jugheads, which was, of course, unplayable. This is basically his way of saying, let's get the game over. He's given up his S, he's given up his blank, he's blocked the T. The S off course would have been very important to play off of Goiter. There was no real way to hit the T without using up the S and the blank, so maybe now he's just going for spread.
Probably just trying to salvage some spread here so that he can potentially make up the difference in future games.
In an incredibly rare and unlikely circumstance, these two could tie.
Yes.
in games, and then it would be determined by spread. So Thomas now is just trying to limit that spread. He's aware that he's not going to win this game.
For the younger viewers out there, in your vernacular, we would probably say GGTY, good game, thank you. And we'll wait for the next round here.
Oh, I think there's a couple other four-letter...
Oh, yes, there's some four-letter words that we can't say on the air that Thomas is probably thinking about right now. And they are valid in Scrabble.
Yeah, another reason for people to come play. You get to use those words. Now, let's see what Jesse has. Waiting for the next play. So we're not quite sure what his rack is. There we go. BEFNPRY. Oh, how nice. I do want to do a quick shout out to Rashad, who is from Mind Sports International, and he has put together the entire video setup here. And thanks.
He's joined us actually from the Magic community. So we actually got a tremendous favor here from Rashad. He's helping us do a broadcast for the first time here at the North American Scrabble Championship. In past years, we have just had online play-by-play coverage. So the board that you would see on the ScrabblePlayers.org website, we do update that each round from board 1. But with Rashad here from the Magic the Gathering community, he has given us a way to look at the board live. So we thank you very much for that and for joining us and giving us the opportunity to portray the game in a brand new way here in North America.
And what's amazing is that here we are in the first game, and I can't think of too many glitches.
Pretty
so
smooth.
That's I got to tell you, that's pretty unbelievable.
Rashad hasn't had any of those 4-letter words to say really either. I think just once before we were on the air, but otherwise we've been good.
Do we know, is there a rule, as there have been in past broadcasts, that the guys can't play certain words?
No, there are no rules against playing certain words here, so they can play whatever they want, and we'll actually get to say those words only if they're on the board.
In the past, it's tried, Scrabble's tried to make this a bit more family friendly. Obviously, School Scrabble is an extremely important initiative for Hasbro and NASPA, and we don't want to turn anybody off, but here it's any word goes.
My understanding as well that there is potentially a chat feed, so if you are on there, we apologize, we're not looking at that.
We are being fed. My son, who is working here at the tournament, is feeding me some of the commentary.
Okay.
So we're not ignoring you, but we're just not getting all the comments.
So I am going to try to see if on my computer I can load the chat next round so that I can answer questions live for you, and we can talk about them on the air as well.
Now, one thing people have been asking is to get some updates on the other matches, and apologies if it gets a little noisy, because the games are ending the first round and people are talking after their games. If you want to follow what's going on in the other matches, please go to ScrabblePlayers.org, ScrabblePlayers.org, to see live results from other matches.
So we'll actually just go there and check right now. For those of you who don't have the website open, we'll see if we can update you on a few of the matches here. Let's see.
It'll take a little while until all of the scores are brought up and people, and it gets put into the computer, which is actually one of the jobs my son is doing. Unfortunately, we can go to the live game board, however. There are a few ways that you can actually see the scores. You can see them with ratings, or you can look at a live board, which is constantly updated and will refresh on your computer continuously.
Okay. So we have a separate spot here to look at the quarterfinals. So let's look at that first scoreboard here.
So if you do go to ScrabblePlayers.org, and you can see it says TSH reports, which will give you ratings, but go to scoreboard. A is obviously Division A through D, and CSW is Collins Dictionary, which is the world accepted dictionary. And then you could see how people are doing in the various divisions on a live scoreboard.
In fact, we will be featuring a game that uses the CSW word source in the next round. So for those of you watching from other parts of the world outside of North America, or for those enthusiasts that we have in North America who play with this book, the next round is for you. We're going to be featuring a Collins is the other word that we use besides CSW, a Collins dictionary-based game at board 1 in the next round. My understanding, if we follow to what we're expecting here, is that the top seed in Collins will be playing the 8th seed for playoffs.
We're done? We're all?
So from round 1 here, we have finished Jesse Day and Thomas Reinke's match. We're going to go off the air here just for several minutes before round 2 begins. So thank you for following along here in Reno. We're going to go off the air just for several moments and come back for round 2 as soon as we're ready.